Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a break from the usual PC content and doing some iOS content. So today we're going to be doing something cool. We'll be showing you this new 64-bit downgrade tool for legacy devices to bring them back to older iOS versions, called Turdus Merula. Long story short, it utilizes the Blackbird SEP exploit to downgrade iOS devices with the A9 and A10 CPU, which includes the iPhone 6s, iPhone 6s Plus, iPhone SE 1st Gen, iPhone 7, iPhone 7 Plus, iPad 5th and 6th Gen, iPad Mini 4th Gen, and the iPad Pro 1st Gen, to downgrade them to either iOS 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, or 14. So, I have my iPod Touch 7 here on the bench today, which will be downgrading back to iOS 13. It's currently running iOS 15 now. So it's pretty easy. Don't take this as a tutorial, but what you'll need is, a MacBook. I've had better luck with Intel machines, so I have just that. So we have our late 2012 13-inch Intel MacBook Pro. I'm going to pull up the specs on this machine. I'm just going to block the serial number. 2.5 gigahertz i5, 8 gigs of RAM, Intel HD graphics 4000, pretty standard specs for 2012. But most importantly, what you'll need is the Turdus Merula downgraded tool from sep.lol, very funny name. You'll have the Turdus Merula script to run it, and then you'll need an IPSW of the target version of iOS you want to restore it to. So, connect your iPod to the machine. So, we're just going to move this off to the side and then get a stand to hold up the iPod. Now, once you have your iPod connected, the first thing you got to do is put it in recovery mode, which we've already done. Then go take your Turdus Merula script, go to the bin folder, click on that, and then drag it into the terminal. It's going to run, and then it'll show the directions that you would need to do so. So I'm just going to look at the directions, and I'll show you guys what we need to do. So you have to navigate to sep.lol to find the directions. So you would first have to cd in the Turdus Merula folder, and run the script to put it into DFU mode. So you got our iPod in DFU mode off to the side here. So I'm just going to put it into DFU mode. So now that you have the device in DFU mode, the steps may be specific to your specific Apple device. So it does vary. So it'll detect it, which is good. Now it's actually in KDFU mode because I actually had it pre-downgraded to iOS 14 in the past. But now we're now gonna run the Turdus Merula script again. So we're gonna basically just type this in, and then now after that you would go back into the folder where you have the IPSW stored, and you would drag the IPSW into here. So press enter, then it's gonna do the magic. Pick the newest version of the firmware. These are basically the drivers that you would use to install your Wi-Fi, passcode, link it to your Apple ID. So we're gonna go with the newest version, 15.8.5, and then it's now flashing the firmware. Now I do not want to. So we're gonna perform an erase restore, meaning that we're gonna wipe everything out, because this isn't my main iPod Touch, because my main iPod is the 4th Gen, because this is more of a collector's item, and I think having it on an old version of iOS will make it a lot better, in my opinion, and a little bit more collectible. So you have to type yes in all caps. So it's gonna do a bunch of fancy stuff. So you know what that means? Cue the time-lapse music. So now, we finally have it booting. The thing is that if you want this to work, don't use the script called turdusmerula.bin. You have to use turdusrain.bin. because if you try with Turdus Merula, it's gonna get stuck and fail. So I actually learned that the hard way, kind of. I tried booting with Turdus Merula, but then I used Turdus Rain to boot. So what it'll do is, again, it'll show Pongo OS code on the screen, then it'll go immediately into this screen, like with the iOS booting logo, which is pretty good. I'd say that this is going to be a pretty successful iOS install. So we're all set up. Hello, press home to open. And you would set this up as you would a standard iOS device. So we can set this up manually. Again, you can see that iOS 13 wallpaper. In my opinion, it's one of my favorite, one of the underrated iOS wallpapers. So because I downgraded this from a previous version of iOS, there's a chance that it might be iCloud locked to my own Apple ID. If so, that'll be pretty funny. Yep, it's iCloud locked to myself. And then iCloud literally gave me an email saying that activation lock wants your password. So we're just going to continue set this thing up without a nice passcode. And the good news is passcode does work, because in the past, that was an SEP thing, because I tried with a different version of iOS on 14. Passcode didn't work, but this time, passcode did work. So we're just going to log into my Apple ID now. Terms and conditions, basically sell my soul to Apple, like how Microsoft makes me do that, like when I set up Windows. So I previously used another tool called Downgrade. However, the SEP tool didn't really work, like having like you had passcode disabled on there. There's also this sketchy thing called LimeFix, which you had to pay $13 for. Thankfully, I didn't use that. And it's good Turdus Merula works. Thank you to whoever created it. I really do appreciate it. I'm just giving you basically free publicity with this video. Download link is going to be provided. Unfortunately, no Windows version, macOS and Linux only. It works best on macOS versions and Linux version. Intel macOS, not ARM64 in my opinion, because that's just what I use. Anything from like 2019 or older will work on any version of macOS. Again, Express settings. We're going to set this thing up. I'm just going to disable automatic updates later on. Enable location services. I want to keep this thing on 13, so I'm going to disable the location services eventually. We're going to use Siri. Hey Siri. Hey Siri, send a message. So here she is on the latest version of iOS 13. All set up. We're going to disable software updates. Customize automatic updates. So we have automatic updates turned off, which is good. So I'm praying that this thing just doesn't decide to update itself to like the latest iOS version. So we got this thing all set up on iOS 13. It's pretty usable. Let's just try going to a website. Let's try soundwaters.org. Unfortunately, the Soundwaters website didn't fully load, so we're going to test with the Mac 84 website. Good news is scrolling is nice and smooth. Getting started with Vintage Mac, so we're going to go there. I like how it's nice and smooth to scroll. So, again, iOS 13 Safari works pretty well, but some websites don't fully load. So, I'd say all the apps work very well on iOS 13. So we're just getting the video there. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, watch, and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, y'all.